a great job here, and they've given a guy a great opportunity to learn a valuable skill.
You know, I think a lot of the feeling of people on the outside is you guys get sent to San Quentin, and you go into the cell about 4 feet by 8 feet, and you spend your time for the rest of your life, or you're out and you're not doing anything productive. It's a black hole. You're not being rehabilitated. And you're looking at me with blank stares. Is it what?
Well, all right. Let's hear.
Basically, there's a lot of things we do here. We got lots of programs. You got the chapels, you got hobby shop, and like Ron said, we work all day long, and our spare times we do what other programs are available. For myself and a lot of the other Christians here, the chapel's a real inspiration for us. We spend a lot of our time there. We have 3 or 4 different meetings.
Were you born again in prison?
I was born again when I was in county jail. And you'd be amazed. There's a lot of brotherly love here. And like I said, people don't run around sticking everybody all the time. That's a big misconception. We are human beings, and we're trying to better ourselves while we're in here. And the Lord is a great way to do that.
Thank you.
You asked about rehabilitation. You know, rehabilitation is in the heart. The system can't rehabilitate me or anybody else, you know. But for those of us who choose to make that choice, there are some programs here, you know, but there could stand to be a lot more. A lot of the trades they teach now are antiquated. You know, guys are learning automotive trades on 1968, 72 cars. You know, they're not learning anything about the new cars. And
what are you in for, Elmer?
I'm in for murder.
And when's your release date?
I've been down for 10 years, and I have release date of 1991.
Now, how do you react to knowing that there are people watching right now and saying, Elmo, you took an individual's life. Should you get out?
I tell them that I haven't taken anyone's life. The same district attorney who sent me here got me a parole date by admitting that. I was with my brother when he killed someone, and that's the way the system works.
Thanks.
Alex.
Yeah. When I came in San Quentin, I could not speak English, for example, and I did not have any trade.
What language did you speak?
Russian. Russian. So while being in San Quentin, before I joined the computer programming class, I learned English, and I've been 4 years in computer class, and I taking college courses. And in my spare time, to stay away from a foolish consistency of a violence, in spare time, I do arts and correction. I play congas. I learn Brazilian style of music and African style of music.
What are you going to do when you get out?
I'm going to try my best to work somewhere in a business field with the knowledge that I acquire of microcomputer and the main.
Who do you think will hire you?
I hope it's going to be somebody who's very optimistic and going to look at me not from the point of view that I'm ex-convict, but from what I know and what I can produce and how much profit he can make on me.
What were you in for, Alex?
I'm here for kidnap, attempted extortion, and rape.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about a misconception that people have about prisoners. Okay, it's true that the majority of convicts inside San Quentin and other prisons around here do have some type of criminal record, but a lot of guys that come to prison are, you know, the average Joes, you know, the average Joes in society that, you know, take chances out there and doing minor illegal things that could lead to something bigger.
What did you do?
I'm in here for murder. I'm here for murder, but it started out as a regular argument and ended up in a fist fight and a guy dying because of it. So cases like that and other ones where, you know, the average guy out there just involved in different things. A lot of times I've heard cops in here talk about how, you know, they're this close to coming to prison themselves, you know. And so I think that it needs to be said that, you know, that we're human too, you know, we're people in here. And a lot of people don't realize that on the streets. They think we're just animals, bred criminals, you know.
Yeah, let's take a commercial break. We'll come back inside San Quentin after this.
People Are Talking is brought to you in part by Nutrisystem's Weight Loss Centers. Nutrisystem succeeds where diets fail you.
Vicky Engel before Nutrisystem, Vicky Engel after Nutrisystem.
I had spaghetti and meatballs, lasagna, fudge cupcakes, and I still lost weight. I wanted to see results real quick, and I did with Nutrisystem. I'm so much happier now that I've lost the 125 pounds. I walk on a cloud all the time now. I would tell someone that needed to lose weight and were hesitating on it, that they owed it to themselves to get that weight off and start enjoying the rest of their life.
Lose up to 20 pounds for only $49, guaranteed. Call now.
They grow coffee here. Not much, less than 1% of the world's coffee. But the coffee beans they do grow are first class. So Hills Brothers comes here. Because when they blend these beans with the beans from up to 50 other countries, you get a coffee that's more than first class. It's world class.
Hills Brothers, it's world-class coffee.
Don't use plain petroleum jelly.
But my lips are really dry and cracked.
Use Blistex ointment. I've found it's better.
Isn't Blistex for cold sores?
Sure, but Blistex also helps heal dry, cracked lips. Blistex has 3 forms of medication.
Hey, petroleum jelly doesn't.
Petroleum jelly coats, but Blistex penetrates for faster relief of dryness and stimulates healing.
Penetrates, medicates, stimulates healing. Blistex is better.
When I was a kid, I thought ice cream came from magic. Now we're making ice cream, and I think I know what it takes to make the freshest and creamiest there is. Because we make ice cream that is very fresh and creamy. But when you can make a living selling ice cream, live 11 minutes from work, and work with the people I do, I guess I still believe in magic.
The Marin Civic Light Opera will present Sweeney Todd over the next 4 weekends, beginning Friday at 8 p.m. in the Showcase Theater, Marin Civic Center.
Well, this is People Are Talking. Ann and I are live inside San Quentin this morning. And we have, 50 or 60 of the inmates with us. There are almost 3,000 in the prison as a total. And a lot of them are watching the television program at this moment. How many of you have televisions in your cells? Is that something, can I ask you a question here? Is that something that comes with the territory, or do you have to buy it yourself?
Yeah, sometimes it's your people send it to you, or you can work and get it yourself. And
so it's either you've got to pay for it. The prison doesn't give you a television.
Doesn't give you a television set.
Now, but how much do you earn, say, in a week or a month?
For your job. What's your job?
Yeah.
Well, we got a little laughter there, so we got a pretty good idea, folks, what they're making.
I mean, what I'm saying, yeah, in a job. James, stand up with me.
What is your job?
Well, right now I'm not working because I'm medically unassigned, but I was involved in the computer programming class, and
how much are you paid a month for that kind of activity?
I think the highest was $13 a month.
$13.
So it takes a while before you get enough money
you.
to buy a TV set. James, I want to know from you what it was like the first day you walked into this prison.
It was, to me, it was like a hellhole because I didn't know nothing about San Quentin.
Were you frightened?
I'm not going to say I was frightened, but I was nervous, you know, because I didn't know nothing about these whereabouts. And more gradually as it went on, I got familiar with the institution.
What are you in for, James?
I'm in for murder.
Now, when you come into a place like this, do you all pretty much stay to yourself at first, or do you hook up with buddies right away?
Well, some convicts already have buddies that's already in the institution that will kind of guide them through the institution to let them know what it's about and what's happening in the surroundings of it, San Quentin. But most majority of a guy will kind of be to himself the first couple of days until he sees somebody that he knows.
It's got to be pretty lonely that first couple of days.
It is, and plus, you know, you got a lot of things going through your mind in that first week because you feel you didn't let your family down, and you're hurting because that's something you really didn't want to do, and it happened.
How many are in San Quentin for the second time? Any of you are returned? Albert, when you were released the first time, I would imagine you said to yourself, I ain't coming back to this place, and here you are.
Yes, that was true. Sometimes we do have our ideas of what we want to do when we get out there. We get sidetracked because we lose the sense of reality of
First time, what were you in for?
First time I was here for robbery,
And second time.
forgery.
Is the problem you get out in society and we don't want to deal with you, and we're not going to give you a fair shake once you get out and you got to resort back, or are you just...
Well, I think if the system is there to help you, don't just give a guy $200 and tell him you're on your own.
So that's what, when you get out of this place, you're going to get $200.
$200 when you get to the gate, that's it. That's all you have come. They have other programs that can help you, but people don't look for handouts. They want to do something for themselves. You know, when I get out of here, I'll get $200. I have nowhere to go. I'll have to start all over.
I mean, you're saying that's the way it is. When are you getting out? When are you getting out?
I get out this year.
And you have no place to go.
I have no place
You
to
have
go.
no family.
I have family, but, you know, if my father is like elderly living in a senior citizen building, okay, but $200 for me to live on, after the taxpayers is paid something like, what, $100,000?
$30,000 a year is something probably to
$30,000 a
happen.
year to house me, and all I can get is $200 and say, that's it. And then you're on your own.
Well, now, are we saying you're coming back, Albert?
Well, you're not saying I'm coming back, but what are the chances of me coming back?
Pretty good, aren't they?
Sure.
Well, I've got a young man over here, Frank, who says that he's been... How long have you been in institutional living?
Well, since I was of the age of 11, I first got arrested for armed robbery, you know.
What are you in for now, Frank?
Armed robbery. But,
So when you came into San Quentin the first time, it was no big deal?
well, there's always going to be nervousness. Depends on the institution. While this institution does have a reputation, it's never going to lose its reputation.
What is the reputation?
Reputation of hardcore criminals, of people getting stabbed every day, people getting shot, various things, you know, things that just would scare the average person, you know, which, you know, I was scared, but then again, with my history, I've learned to adjust to things like that.
Is this more familiar to you, this prison life, than life on the outside?
No, well, I can say I was easily adjusted. You know, it was no problem for me to adjust.
Frank.
Yeah. I have to answer that guy's question about the $200 when he gets out, that he won't be able to make it. If he can come in here and work for $13.30 a month in some of these jobs, scrub walls, pick up paper and all that, ain't no reason you can't go out there and, you know, apply yourself for doing something. You know what I mean? You can take a bottom job. You got a bottom job here. So all that about, I'm getting out and I cannot make it, you don't want to make it. Howard?
Oh, my response to that is that I'm a journeyman printer. I make about $15 an hour. But $200 do work for me. When I step out this gate, I have to buy myself clothes. I have to get myself a place to live. And what am I going to do for the first week until I get that $600 where I can go out there and find myself a place to live?
But you know what, maybe, Frank,
like you live here on minimum means, right? You got to do the same thing on the street. You got to apply yourself. You got to sacrifice, okay?
Understandable. I'm going to make it, without a doubt. I'm not going to sell cocaine to do it, and I'm not going to get out here to rob nobody to do it. I'm going to make it, okay? If I got to sleep in a motel until I get...
But you're saying we're not making it easy for you to make it when you get out of there. Taking a commercial
But good
break.
for you for that
We'll be
edge.
back in only a moment, because we got to make some money ourselves.
The rich whole grains of Home Pride Buttertop bread, and the rich golden honey, and then the butter. Fresh, sweet, creamery butter poured down the length of each loaf. These give Home Pride its rich, noticeably rich taste. Quite simply, there is no taste like the rich taste of Home Pride. White or wheat, there's no taste like the rich taste of Home Pride.
These blue toilet bowl cleaners can be a pain. The most they last is 6 weeks. So I invented new 2000 Flushes Blue. It lasts up to 4 months. Just drop 2000 Flushes Blue in your tank, and its powerful cleaners leave the bowl clean and the water blue every time you flush. For up to 4 months. And new 2000 Flushes Blue dissolves completely, so there's nothing left to take out. New 2000 Flushes Blue or original clear, they both last up to 4 months.
Chili time! What was it we used to like so much about chili? Fellas, the beef is back. The beef? It's back.
Nally's introduces a new chili that brings back an old flavor. Nally's real chili. Real beef. No soy fillers.
What do we do with this chili with the soy filler in the beef?
Always was partial to beef in my beef.
Doreen, I just found something I thought was lost forever.
New from Nally's. Real chili. The beef is back.
So for a long time I thought, it must be me. Was I being unreasonable to think that I could get what I wanted? Then it struck me. They weren't listening. Not the way you do. You and Revlon's great feeling perm.
With cut, shampoo, and styling, regularly $97.50, now $45.
The salon that listens beautifully.
Call the nearest Neiman Marcus Beauty Salon for your $45 great feeling perm appointment.
Join us in our studio audience. For your free tickets, call 478-KPIX. That's 478-KPIX.
Live with the inmates this morning, and they've got a lot to say. Charles.
Yeah, I want to take exception to the fact that somehow, you know, people, the public seem to think we are different. You know what I'm saying? Like, you all come here today.
But you've committed a crime. What are you in for, Charles?
I'm in here for murder. You know what I'm saying? I'm in here for murder. You know? And like, I don't need nobody to feel sorry for me for that. You know, but that's a fact of life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we are born into a system where somebody got to come to jail. You know, the system can't work without it. You know.
Why do you say that?
We start out with the very idea. I'm talking about the profit system that starts out with the idea that, hey, somebody got to be down while somebody else be up. Okay.
So if you're down, the chances of you coming to prison are pretty good.
I mean, somebody got to come to prison, right?
Well, somebody doesn't have to murder, do they?
Everybody can't have a piece of the pie. You know what I'm saying? Not enough to go around. You know, we want to fool ourselves and say, hey, we living in the big America. Everybody get a piece of the pie and everything gonna be all right. You know, it don't work that way. You got to have an oppressed people that can't do nothing for them.
So there's no difference between you and the average guy. It's just your chances were not good.
The person on the street, no different than me than you. You know what I'm saying? And here you got innocent people, you got guilty people, you got good people, you got all type of people.
How many of you agree with that? How many agree that you were just dealt the short card? I mean, you got the short straw on this deal. And do you, Michael? Do you?
At times I do. You know, I don't justify what's happened to me or anything.
What are you in for?
Murder. I got life because a 45-year-old junkie OD'd. You know, but I'm not complaining. It's just the fact that a lot of people commit horrendous crimes and get a lot less time. It's all, you know. I didn't come here to talk about that anyway. I came to say what positive stuff I'm doing here. And I'm working on videos for drug abuse for kids in YA and in other programs.
So when you say YA, you mean?
CYA, other kids in trouble.
Is this the Squires?
No, that's separate.
So you're doing drug videos that are shown in the Youth Authority.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot about it, you know, so I hope to reach them and help them with it, you know. But I also work with the Squires. I'm just getting started with them, though, you know. But there's things you can do to help other people not to end up in here, you know. I'm not justifying my crime. I'm just saying that a lot of people get.
Are you going to get out?
Than they should.
Do you have a parole date?
Well, yeah, someday. 99 or something like that.
1999, and you came in when?
Last year.
Jesse, I asked a little earlier in the break if you all here this morning were the good guys. How did you respond to that?
Well, I feel like you have good guys, quote unquote, and you have bad guys, right? But now, that's on the streets. Okay, now in here, like Wasapi was just saying, you have the same thing. You have good people who are considered to be good people, and you have people who are bad people who are considered to be bad people.
What are you in for?
I'm in it for murder also. But now, you always hear society talking about the bad things that we do in prison and how everything is bad. You never hear about the good that's being.
Tell me something good.
Okay, like we have a Squires group.
Are you part of the Squires group?
Yeah.
Now explain what they do.
The Squires group talks about kids. We talk to kids, we counsel kids, and try to keep them from coming in here. They ended up like we are, ended up committing the same type of crimes we did, you know.
Is this, I mean, I hate to compare you to Scared Straight because I know the Squires program was on long before they did that, but is it that kind of thing? I mean, you sit them down and tell them in no uncertain terms exactly what their life is going to be like if they don't straighten out?
No, we don't do that. We don't do that at all. We talk to the kids. We counsel with them. We allow them. It was different. It was Scared Straight. They just screamed and hollered at the kids, you know. They didn't give the kids the opportunity to say anything. what we do is try to get to know these kids. You understand? Find out what their problem is. You know what I'm saying? And get them to see their problem. That way they can work on it.
Reed.
You know?
Yes, I'm also a part of the Squires program. That was my brother you was just listening to right there, my blood brother. And there are a whole lot of positive things going on here in San Quentin. I'm also trying to be a computer programmer. But there's a hard-working, determined society in San Quentin. There are people that are working every single day. As a matter of fact, it's mandatory that you work each and every day of your life.
When you say work, I mean, we have to be at work at 8, and then we have a lunch break, and we're usually home by 5. Is it the same kind of day in here?
Some of our days start at 4, 3 in the morning, and you have to work that entire day unless you're in a special situation. But everyone else works in San Quentin. You have to work. And whether you use that time to prepare yourself for the outside or whether you use that time to play around, harass the instructor, whatever the case may be, that's up to you as an individual. But you can prepare yourself. But society is looking at these examples of what criminals are, these mass murderers, these cold killers. These people scare us too. I wouldn't let that guy into my house.
Are you associating with those types, or are they in maximum cell block here?
No, not at all. I don't associate with those types of individuals unless I didn't know that person was that type of person. Now, those guys are in lockup units. We have a jail system of our own here in that the holes, those are the maximum security lockup units, are where those types of individuals that can't communicate, can't socialize in the main population go. They house those guys there.
You mean when you're in prison, you can go to jail? You can go to jail within your own system here?
So this is like a whole little city, isn't it? Danny, what are you in?
Vehicle manslaughter.
Okay.
I was going to let you ask me the questions.
Oh. All right, fine. Well, you know what I want to know? How in the world do you staying in that little, teeny tiny cell?
I was small enough.
Somehow I knew you'd have a great answer. But doesn't that bother you? I mean, were you in lockdown at all?
Yeah. Yeah, and at first that was good for me because I was really unsure about what I was going to go into, so it gave me time to mentally be by myself.
But didn't it drive you crazy, never getting out of that little tiny room?
Yeah. Yeah, you get in touch with a lot of things you didn't want to have to deal with.
Like what?
Yourself and what you've analyzed yourself to get yourself in that position.
Do you find that you can be remorseful once you're in here? In other words, you can think about the crime you committed and...
I think that's what it's all about. I think that's the point of being locked down and have to consider, because on the streets I would be going so fast, I may not know where I'm going. And to have to be locked down and put in a position where I have to go back and say, what got me here?
Sammy.
Where am I going to go now?
Earlier you said about people sitting in their cells and wasting time, you know. A lot of people in here, I'm studying for my GED, and I'm inside a vocational...
This is for your high school diploma.
For my high school diploma. I'm preparing myself to go out in the streets. Like this man said, he went out and he had a hard time with $200. All he was asking is, you know, people gives us the opportunity. You said you guys make it hard on us. I do believe you guys do out there, because once they found out you're a parolee or you're any kind of crime you committed, they fire you, they get rid of you. Also, you know, I don't just sit in my cell and I got into Squires because since I've been in San Quentin, this is my 12th year in San Quentin.
And you're in for what?
I have a lot of, I'll be naming them all day here.
Just a few.
You know, since I got into Squires, the program in here, it's a worthwhile program for me. The earlier she said, how does it work? Squires works by communicating to the youth on a gut level. We communicate to them at their level. People, parents, forgot that they were once 13. They forget what the pressure they've been through, and they talk to the youth at their level, which is not. A 13-year-old understands that a 12-year-old at a 12-year-old. So we think back when we were 13 and 14 and we realized the pressures we had. Now a kid comes from school. He's being pressured in school. He or she be pressured on drugs or sex or whatever, and there's nobody at home to talk to. They can't turn on the TV and ask the TV.
So these kids are coming in from the outside. You're talking to them, giving them some counseling and some therapy so they won't end up here like you guys are. What relationship do these inmates have with their families? Do they lose family? Do they lose friends once they're in here? And are they able to spend time with those people who mean a lot to them? We'll talk about it after a commercial break. Stay tuned.
California's death row, the gas chamber.
It's like walking into a kind of a nightmare.
The inmates who wait, the few who are set free.
I consider myself fortunate to be alive.
The witnesses at executions, a rare chance to see what few ever see. Final sentence, an Eyewitness News special report. Tonight at 6, only on Channel 5.
French food can be described in 2 words, rich and creamy.
C'est bon.
Magnifique. It gets that way through the fine French tradition of whipping. It's the secret behind new à la Francais yogurt from Weight Watchers. It's French whipped, so à la Francais is smooth and creamy with real fruit blended throughout. Bonjour. Bonjour. Now, rich and creamy can be summed up in a single French phrase, à la Francais. À la Francais from Weight Watchers. Rich and creamy yogurt in the best French tradition.
At O'Connor Hospital, there's something special about our heart care team. A commitment to expert diagnosis, to skill in the most delicate surgery, and to new treatments that help avoid the need for surgery. Yet it's also the simple knowledge that caring for the human heart is caring for life itself.
Teamwork, technology, trust. They bring us all together for life.
Sponsored by the Daughters of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul.
Hey, Cookie, more pecani sauce. This ain't paste pecani sauce.
What's the difference?
Cookie, paste pecani sauce is made in San Antonio with fresh vegetables and spices by people who know what pecani sauce is supposed to taste like.
This stuff's made in New York City?
New York City?
Get a rope.
Pick up the original picante sauce. Pick up the pace.
We're inside San Quentin. Perry, do you have family on the outside?
Yes, I do. I have a boy and a girl, 6 and 7 years old. My mother, she's sticking by me, by my side. I'm in here for something I didn't do, a crime I didn't commit.
How long have you been here?
And I've been here for 5 years. And
now, is your wife able to visit you, and are you able to spend intimate time together?
No, I'm not married. I'm not married, but I have to say this about my family. They're poor, but they really stuck with me through this. I live in Southern California. I have no way to come down here, but I get letters from them. I get packages from them. I call them when I want to, call, collect, and everything.
Now, does the prison monitor your phone calls, or do they read your mail? They do. Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't, because it's nothing I can say in my letter that's detrimental to security here. But I also want to say something that I heard somebody else said about rehabilitation. To me, rehabilitation is in the heart, like this gentleman over here said. But also, people are out there pushing for more time. And here in San Quentin, it's overcrowded, you know, and it's costing more money, and I don't see where they're going to put all these people. But still, there's so many people on the street, in the ghettos, you know, young kids are in trouble, and they're not trying to help these young kids, you know. I started when I was young, and nobody tried to help me, you know.
So you see it getting worse, don't you?
Yeah, I feel as though if there was some kind of help, some kind of program for these youngsters to try to detour them away from these places, you know, and have people that work here. I don't never hear them talking about trying to help these youngsters, you know. They want to shoot people down, you know, and do all kind of negative things, but no positive. Nothing
Thanks,
positive.
Perry. Thank you.
Donald, you are married.
I am married. I was married 6 months ago.
You were married 6. How long have you been in?
I've been incarcerated nearly 7 years.
And you were married 6 months ago? How did the two of you meet?
Well, it's a long story, but we had visited in the visiting room just across a table in letters for almost a year.
So she just came to the prison to visit some prisoner, and she met you, and it was love at first sight?
Not exactly. She knew my family from out of state and thought that since I was in San Quentin now, that she would come and visit and see if she could help.
Does that make life better for you in here that you've got somebody on the outside?
Well, That's an excellent question. There was many issues raised about rehabilitation, negativity, etc. I've walked almost 7 years with a negative attitude. Not really angry at society, but since I have been married, it does nothing but improve the mind. It's a positive goal to step forward.
Now, do you have conjugal visits?
I am allowed. California is only one of 7 states that recognizes conjugal visits.
So that's a privilege.
It is a privilege. It is a privilege. I believe it is the really only form of rehabilitation, and I think it should be expanded and encouraged.
Well, it seemed like each individual was just talking about among themselves. We want to just talk about San Quentin as a whole here. You know, like dealing with the education, about getting our clothes clean. It's hard to do up in there. We have
What do you mean? Well, first of all, where do you get? Do they issue these clothes, or do you have to buy your own clothes and they tell you what you have to buy?
We have to buy our own clothes, like the jeans.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. They do also.
I'll have. You know, we were not. Nobody from the outside, and I think this is right, is allowed to wear denim into the prison.
Yeah, we were told
because
we could not.
you are the only ones who get that privilege, I guess.
Right. Also, you know, they do issue out the jeans and state shirts and blues and stuff, but the clothes that we do let in through the R&R, the packages, is hard for us to wear, you know, in here.
How often are your clothes clean?
I'm the only one to do the cleaning of my own clothes. We have a laundry here, plus for the dry cleaning, but we not be able to use them. You know, it's just for staff itself, really, or doing the sheets for the inmates in here on the beds. But after clean our own clothes, we do that ourselves.
Greg.
Yeah, one thing he's talking about, you know, visits and things. And a lot of us are from, you know, Southern California, and it's hard to have our families come up and stuff like that. And another thing, they were talking about rehabilitation. Well, I've got a life sentence, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be here for my life. I may be here for quite a few years. What am I going to do when I get out? And if there's not programs to rehabilitate me to what society is like 5, 10, 20 years from now, how am I expected to do good? I plan to be. I'm doing everything I can here. I work for, you know, $13 a month. I'm involved in all the programs, and you got to have a positive attitude, but we need the help from society. If we do a crime and we're convicted, that is our sentence, to do a certain amount of years. That should vindicate us. Society should say, okay, you've served your sentence, now come back into society, and we will help you to, you know...
It's a matter of trust, though, isn't it?
That's a matter of trust, but if we have nothing to help us, how are we going to get better?
We got a couple of more messages for you. We shall return to San Quentin in only a moment.
Vicky Engel before Nutrisystem, Vicky Engel after Nutrisystem.
I had spaghetti and meatballs, lasagna, fudge cupcakes, and I still lost weight. I wanted to see results real quick, and I did with Nutrisystem. I'm so much happier now that I've lost the 125 pounds. I walk on a cloud all the time now. I would tell someone that needed to lose weight and were hesitating on it, that they owed it to themselves to get that weight off and start enjoying the rest of their life.
Lose up to 20 pounds for only $49, guaranteed. Call now.
The first time the cries of a newborn echoed through the halls of Children's Hospital of San Francisco was in December of 1879. That first baby started a tradition at Children's that has touched generations of families.
My dad was born at Children's, I was born here, and now look at you.
It meant a lot that our baby be a part of our family tradition at Children's Hospital, but more importantly, I wanted a modern birthing experience. Frank was with me the whole time, and we knew that the latest technology was available if we needed it.
For more than a century, Children's Hospital of San Francisco has provided quality maternity care for moms, their babies, and their babies' babies.
Children need a sense of belonging. Share your memories and your traditions.
For your sake and for kids' sake.
Happy birthday! You know what your problem is?
Age.
No, you should be eating better.
When did you get so health conscious?
I have birthdays, too.
I suppose that waffle you're about to eat is nutritious.
Not just nutritious, hon. Delicious. It's an Eggo Nutrigrain waffle.
No cholesterol, preservatives, or sugar added. Eggo Nutrigrain waffles from Kellogg's, also in Raisin and Bran.
Nutrigrain, huh?
Hey, let go my Eggo.
No, you're right. I've got to start eating better.
join us in our studio audience. For your free tickets, call 478-KPIX. That's 478-KPIX.
People, what you're involved in right now here in San Quentin.
I'm in the theater. I'm part of the Samuel Beckett's production of Waiting for Godot. I'm the character Vladimir.
Now, were you interested in theater before you came into San Quentin?
No, I wasn't. I didn't even know anything about it at all. Didn't like it. I'm more or less the new kid on the block.
What are you in for, Twin?
I'm in for murder.
Who's directing the play?
Jan Johnson from Sweden.
You mean a director all the way from Sweden to come in here and direct a play?
Yes.
Now, who will get a chance to see this play?
The premiere opening is June 18th, and I think we're doing a couple of shows for a couple of universities within the Bay Area, and we're doing something for, I think, the governor and...
What have you learned? What have you learned? Well, yeah, you guys are going to get to see it, too, but what have you learned besides learning a play by Samuel Beckett?
What have I learned? Well...
About yourself.
About myself? It took a lot. It took a while. But the biggest support that I had came from the convicts themselves. And that's my family.
Will you do another play?
Yes, I would.
Okay, we got the theater, we have arts in the prison here, we have SQ-TV, and ladies and gentlemen, we have the man who's one of the talk show hosts and the producer, and I've had trouble keeping him quiet the whole morning.
Thank you. Now, one of the things I want to...
Get your hands off that microphone.
On the serious side, one of the things I want to say is that a lot of the misconceptions we're dealing with here is more general than just we deal with specific areas. One of the things I like to say is that society looks at it as cast off, when in reality we can be a valuable resource for society in terms of...
How can you be a good resource?
Our creativity. Me, myself, I'm a musician, songwriter, producer, and I do a lot of things. There are other guys that have personal creative abilities that they can contribute to society, like the guys in the squad that know how to work with youth. I think the best person that's suited to deal with crime is a criminal. You know what I'm saying? There's no way anyone else can be able to say, well, how does a criminal mind work besides a person that's been involved in criminal activity? So I think somebody's going to help rehabilitate a criminal. Most of my knowledge in terms of changing my lifestyle since I've been in prison have came from the guys I walked the yard and kicked it with that had been through the same process and gave me knowledge about, hey, man, this ain't what it's about, how to change my life and things like that.
So when you get on the outside, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we want to get as many comments. When you get on the outside, you think we should make better use of your knowledge, your career as a criminal, so we can have a lot of other people that won't end up here in San Quentin.
And not only that, when I'm in here, you should make better use of my knowledge as a criminal, and not just as a criminal, but as a productive person that can contribute something to society while I'm in here.
All right, good.
So, Mickey, you want to say that this is really a society within a society?
Yeah, I really believe that. I know my reality in San Quentin as real as anybody else's, although it's quite different. I'm young, white, homosexual, and...
Does that present a problem?
It does, but I have to deal with that, you know, and I deal with everybody.
You know
How do
what?
you deal with
I
that?
got to say something right here. We're getting a lot of reaction
individual, I don't
to
let others
what he has
dictate
said.
my behavior. I do what I feel is right for Mickey, and I'm not going to let the administration or the
Do we want to make any
dictate
comments?
my behavior and how I feel.
All right.
And I feel so much has been stripped from us in, like, you know, you're a nobody, you're in prison in this. And what I am inside is what I'm going to be. Sure, they can tell me, well, you can't engage in any sexual acts, which is fine. But I feel being an individual, I have the right.
Were you frightened when you first came in here as a homosexual?
I really was. Real anxious, the fear of the unknown, especially the stigmatism behind San Quentin. You know, that, hey, that's the hardest of the hardest places. And as we adjust, I try to utilize my time in a productive manner. I'm an accounting clerk. I work 35 hours a week.
What are you in for?
Grand theft. I've never had a violent crime, although I am level 4 due to the classification system here.
What does that mean, level 4?
Level 4 is,
that's the tightest security?
Yeah, it is. That's top security.
And what are you doing here then today, Mickey? If you're level 4, how did you get in?
How did I get here?
Everybody's here level 4?
Yeah.
Oh, pretty close. Listen, we've got to go. Excuse me, Mickey. We've got to go away for a couple of breaks. When we come back, and Andrew, you're going to be out in a month and a half. Let's find out what Andrew's going to do once he comes out and joins us. We'll be back in a moment.
Yes, I am the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man. Now I am the Butter Man, the Butter Man, the Butter Man.
It's not butter, it's Imperial margarine. Rich, buttery, delicious Imperial. Only our taste deserves the crown.
There's one dog food people lean on more than any other, Purina Dog Chow.
You can lean on me. I'll be there for you.
An unspoken trust that is tried and true.
I lean on you. You lean on me.
More people depend on Purina Dog Chow for unsurpassed nutrition than any other dog food in the world, and dogs love the way it tastes. Purina Dog Chow brand, a dog food you can lean on.
Velveeta versus butter. Watch. Which melts better? Velveeta was just made to melt. Velveeta versus cheddar. See how much more smoothly, more evenly Velveeta melts. Never separates or gets oily. Try it yourself.
Velveeta versus a snowball.
Which melts better, more smoothly, more easily? Velveeta. Velveeta really cooks.
Why don't we all sit down and get comfortable? You seem to have a problem?
Yes, these. My husband's a Sylvania engineer. He works day and night. He's obsessed with light bulbs. I'm not getting enough out of this marriage.
Are you kidding? You're getting a whole line of decor lamps that make our home more beautiful. I worked 2 years on this Mood Glow bulb. These burn 75 hours longer than before. The whole line's guaranteed.
Can you get me this in a 60 watt?
Look for Sylvania light bulbs at these fine stores.
For information about today's guests, call the People Are Talking hotline at 478-8888. San Quentin. Andrew, you get out in how long?
In about a month and a half.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm hopefully trying to get back into get into a college program where I could continue a vocational trade that I have started in.
You feel good about going outside that gate next month?
A little, a little leery about going out there because I haven't been out there in 9.5 years. But I have prepared myself to go out there. I've been working along with Squires. I've been in Squires for over 1.5 years, and I've been working with Squires counseling youngsters, and that has helped me out as far as being able to communicate with other people and being able to get something out of it too.
So you got a big challenge ahead of you. Good luck to you.
You know, one of the things we haven't mentioned is drugs. Drugs. Do they exist in prison?
Give
me a break. Give me a break. Yeah, you talk about drugs, Melrose?
About drugs. First of all, in society, in this society, our society is just like society out there. Everything that exists in the real world exists here in San Quentin.
So you're a smaller version of what we're doing on the outside.
Mirror of society. All right. Yeah. And I also want to say that there are younger men coming to prison, and we're wasting their minds in prison. Why don't we develop some type of programs to help these younger men, to keep them out there in society so they can help society be a better society?
All right, then.
Yeah. I just wanted to say on an idea of society's misconception of us. Like, a lot of us don't think the way we used to think before we was in here. You know, a lot of us think way differently now from when we were.
You're saying you matured, you've grown up?
You matured,
what are you in
grown
for?
up, for robbery. And I'm saying that people who think that we're going to come out thinking like we was 10 years ago, it's not like that.
Hey, guys, we got 70% return rate to San Quentin, so most of us do think you're thinking the same way.
Well, that's parole violators.
You're saying parole violation.
Well, I'm talking about a lot of guys who've been here for like 10, 11 years, ain't been out to come out and come back. It's a big crux of us here, too. We don't think like we used to, like all the educational things they're talking about, and they're going to implement them on the street.
Good for you.
Antoine, is it true that you learned to read and write here in San Quentin?
Yes, I did. I went to high school and graduated in high school.
You graduated from high school?
Yes, I did. And I played football, but once I got here, I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to write too well. I didn't know how to spell too well. But now I can read, write, and spell real good.
What are you going to do when you get out?
I'm going to try to read, write, and spell when I get out.
Charles. Hey, real quick, Charles.
Yes, we're having a very serious problem here right now with the educational department, the system itself, because those of us who are trying to get rehabilitated, we are not being granted the opportunity, to to get this education here, you know, due to a lack of many things, unqualified teachers, some of them for personal reasons. They feel that you shouldn't be there. You know, it goes into a variety of different reasons.
So you don't think you're getting the opportunities you should get in San Quentin?
Scott, how old are you?
I'm 23.
When did you first come in here?
1983, right after I turned 18.
Had you been in any other correctional facility before that?
Well, I've been in the youth authority and boys ranches and juvenile hall, but not an adult.
What are you in?
First degree murder.
What are you going to do when you get out?
I haven't planned it yet. That's still too far in the future to plan.
How far?
Well, I've done 5, another 12 or so before they'll consider me for parole.
Are you studying anything in here or working on anything in here that might give you a handle of something to do on the outside?
Well, I study electronics. I'm currently an institutional electrician.
Does that help you handle it mentally? I mean, how do you handle having that much time left here?
I don't think about it.
Not at all?
Yeah, I do it one day at a time.
First of all, a lot of people, like, what I want to say is that a lot of people in here want to rehabilitate themselves, but yet the people that material to rehabilitate themselves, officers confiscate them and use other tactics to deprive them of their knowledge and enhance their education.
No, the officers, and we've talked to some of them, say they care about you guys.
Now, first of all, I feel like I'm talking. First of all, they try to affiliate it with. First of all, they try to affiliate it with like many different things. They say they care, but their actions show otherwise. Such as if I'm talking to an individual, they say we this or we that for as gang affiliation when we not, like myself. Yet they take our books, they take things that we need to enhance our education.
What are you in for, Burton?
I'm in for life.
What was your crime?
Murder.
What do you want to study? They're not letting you study.
For anything like vocabulary books, self-help improvement books, positive thinking, things of that nature, communicate with other people, trying to know psychology books and things. Yet they take them from us.
They're watching you, right? They're watching you now. Maybe you're going to get some stuff.
I might even go home.
Oh, no, you're not going to. We got to go away for another commercial break. We'll be back.
On my right is an Ultronic designer telephone. On my left, Time magazine. The Ultronic designer telephone will impress your friends and clients and brighten any room in your home or office. So will Time magazine. The designer telephone is free when you subscribe to Time. The free designer phone comes in 4 exciting colors: a rich red, a great gray, a beautiful blue, and a wonderful white. Time magazine comes in exciting full color, so you get a true picture of all the news every week. The Ultronic telephone features exceptional communications technology. So does Time magazine. With correspondence all over the world and the immediacy of satellite communications, Time gives you the story when you want it. They put it all right in your hands, so you can turn to Time anytime to get a clear, concise perspective that only Time can give you. And only Time gives you this free Ultronic designer telephone with great features like memory redial of the last number called and a mute button to keep your conversations private. With Time magazine, you get in on all the conversations, so you're always on the inside. The designer telephone has full-sized push buttons for that perfect touch. Time touches you, bringing people closer so you can feel what they feel and share their emotions and celebrations. So, call this toll-free number now and get your Ultronic designer telephone free with your paid subscription to Time at a savings of over 40% off the cover price. You get 26 issues of Time, payable in 3 monthly installments of only $9.89 each. With your designer telephone, you save on monthly phone rental charges. With Time magazine, you get convenient home delivery. Call now, and soon you can be making calls on your very own designer phone. It's free from Time.
Call 1-800-284-7200
and get your free phone and save on Time. Pick a color. It's free.
Ann and I are in San Quentin, but David Jackson's back at Channel 5 in the Eyewitness newsroom. David?
Thank you, Ann and Ross. Here are some of the stories that we are working on for the new news today. What police say is the root of violence in some Bay Area neighborhoods. We'll have a report on that. Also coming up at noon, who among the homeless qualifies for rent money and some of the snafus that are involved in that program, plus Hollywood celebrities and why they are money in the campaign bank for many politicians. We'll have that and more coming up at noon. Now back to you.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll be back at San Quentin tomorrow morning to talk to people who choose to spend their time here, the correctional officers, plus Warden Daniel Vasquez. That's tomorrow on People Are Talking, but we have had a great time this morning.
I made a comment earlier, the 70% return rate at San Quentin, and Dan did want to make a statement about that.
Yeah, just a quick comment about a high return rate is because there's a lot of petty rules in prison, okay, restrictions that you have to do, and the same thing applies to parole. So when guys get out on parole, they have very strict, rules and regulations followed by, and it's easy to get tripped up and come back to prison for a violation. That's why you have a high return.
Well, I hope all of you have enjoyed this as much as we have. Thanks for coming down this morning, and thank you for watching us. See you tomorrow morning from San Quentin. Goodbye.
All right.
Ann Fraser and Ross.
Our second morning inside San Quentin, which is probably the largest and best-known correctional facility here in the state of California. It also houses some of the most serious offenders from the state of California. And this morning, we're going to be talking to the frontline people, the people who are down there guarding the inmates. We, I guess, on the outside call them guards. They prefer the term, though, correctional officers.
But first, we're going to visit with a man who really runs this place, a man who we owe a great deal of thanks to for allowing us to come in and do these two broadcasts. Would you give a nice welcome this morning to Warden Daniel Vasquez?
Thank you.
Very much. I guess we can say it's nice to be here.
It's nice to go home, too, isn't it?
Yes. When you came here, and I believe it was December of '83, this prison had been in lockdown for 18 months. Explain to our audience what lockdown actually means.
Well, lockdown at a prison means there's no movement of inmates whatsoever. The officers have to do everything from feeding to sweeping and cleaning the prison.
So they never get outside their
cell?
cell?
They don't come outside their cells.
What warrants a lockdown? Why was it in that condition?
I found it in that condition because of some racial incidents that had occurred here at San Quentin over a period of time, about 6 months or so. And that's the reason they couldn't unlock it. Every time they tried, some more violence was ensued.
Was this gang-like activity you're talking about?
Yes, it was.
But Warden, 7 days after you arrived, you opened this prison up.
Yes.
What happened in those 7 days to warrant relieving that lockdown?
Well, I think, in my first week here, I did a lot of walking and talking to people. And I found out that for the most part, people had sort of forgotten why they were locked down. I mean, 18 months had passed, and they were wondering, well, who's responsible for what, And I knew that there was some good staff here that were willing to help me with the unlock. And inmates identified some of that staff. And I knew they were out there, and I knew there were some inmates that also wanted to turn San Quentin around or help me turn San Quentin around. We also did some town hall meetings where we called some inmates in to meet with the staff and have some dialogue. Very heated dialogue, as you can probably well imagine, but it served a good purpose.
What were some of the big complaints? What were they upset about?
Well, I think they were just generally, they were upset that they had been locked down for 18 months. That was the biggest frustration.
Because those of us who don't live here think of people going to prison and having to stay in a cell, but that's not the case, is it?
No, it isn't. No, I think the public has a misconception about that. Actually, there's a lot of out-of-cell time when an institution is running normal. There's access to programs and other recreational activities, and also visits with their family members.
Well, now, when you say somebody's in lockdown, they are in a cell how big?
Here at San Quentin, the cells are 48 square feet.
So 48 square
That's
feet.
about,
so
what, 4 feet wide, like 8 feet deep,
yes.
something
8
like
feet
that.
deep, so that's room for a cot and bathroom facilities.
Suffice it to say, it's
It's
rather
a very
small.
small space, so I would imagine that a lot of them were enthusiastic to get out of lockdown.
I think they were, too. Yes.
Is there one inmate to a cell, or sometimes do you have to go to 2 inmates?
At times, you have to go to 2 cells, 2 inmates per cell.
So there's kind of a new spirit at San Quentin.
I think so. I believe so. I think the staff are willing to stay here at San Quentin now. They're willing to work hard, as they do every day. And the inmates are also willing to take part in their programs and activities that'll better them before they go home.
How many people were on death row when you came?
There was approximately 134.
And how many are there now?
There's 223.
There's a lot of talk now about this is the year that we will resume executions in the state of California.
Yes. Yes, I'm aware of that.
Is that what's going to happen in your opinion?
Well, I can't predict what the courts will do, but it might be time for California.
Do you think it would be a deterrent to crime?
Well, I think it'll be a deterrent for that one individual who's executed. That person will not kill again.
What will the climate be within the prison? Will it change at all, the environment, the relationship with the staff and the inmates at all?
I think it will. I think it'll for one, make it somewhat more sobering, but also it'll make it safer for my staff.
What do you think are the biggest misconceptions about San Quentin?
Well, I think, every detective story that you see on TV is invariably chasing the suspect who's either escaped from San Quentin or has been released from San Quentin. I think that the media programs such as, detective shows and television,
and
Hollywood
sure, yeah.
has made an image of San Quentin that everything bad happens here. Well, there's some bad things that have happened here, and there'll probably be more bad things, but there's also good things happening here. There's good staff that work here, very professional people, very courageous people, and the inmates themselves are involved in positive things, trying to change their lives.
Only men in San Quentin as inmates?
Yes, inmates.
And what kind of offender is sent to San Quentin?
From your convicted murderer on death row to a person who might be only serving a year or year and a half.
Are you trying to change that percentage? So in other words, that the inmate population that you have now, you're trying to get it down so it's not so many maximum lifers. You're
Yes.
trying to get them...
To do that now because in California we built some new prisons, new generation prisons that will take some of the hardcore that we've been housing here and put them in new institutions that are built more securely to house those kinds of inmates.
So you'd like this to eventually become like a minimum security prison?
It'll probably be close to minimum and medium, light medium custody, and I hope there'll be a lot of programming involved.
If I were an inmate in San Quentin and I was upset about something, can I come to you?
No, you can't.
Well, that was honest.
I wish I could spend more time out in the yard, but the job of administration sometimes doesn't allow that. But I walk the institution. I walk it at least once a week.
Do they have an organization, the inmates, within the prison where they could bring their complaints and then that organization would be able to communicate with somebody in the prison?
In portions of the prison they do. In the outside facilities, a lot of people don't realize that outside the prison, I have over 1,000 inmates outside the walls. And in that area they
Inmates outside the walls?
Outside the walls.
Are we in the general public to be concerned about that?
No, because my staff are keeping the general public safe.
Oh, good.
But in the outside facilities, the inmates have a men's advisory committee. Inside the walls, they do not. There's too much diversity of a mission here with condemned inmates and inmates in maximum custody and the general population, and there's no way that you're going to get a consensus of the issues or problems. So what we've done here is we reorganize the prison to have a unit concept where the inmates have access to their staff that are responsible for managing their unit and also the supervisors of those areas.
When we opened, we said we were going to spend most of the day talking to correctional officers. Why don't we take a commercial break and visit with them right after this? Stay tuned.
People Are Talking is brought to you in part by Nutrisystem's Weight Loss Centers. Nutrisystem succeeds where diets fail you.
Vicki Engel before Nutrisystem, Vicki Engel after Nutrisystem.
I had spaghetti and meatballs, lasagna, fudge cupcakes, and I still lost weight. I wanted to see results real quick, and I did with Nutrisystem. I'm so much happier now that I've lost the 125 pounds. I walk on a cloud all the time now. I would tell someone that needed to lose weight and were hesitating on it, that they owed it to themselves to get that weight off and start enjoying the rest of their life.
Lose up to 20 pounds for only $49, guaranteed. Call now.
Right now, Safeway is having a big half-price sale featuring frozen fryer legs half price at just 29 cents a pound, or frozen fryer thighs half price at only 59 cents a pound. Throughout the store are half-price specials like 12-ounce Tropicana frozen orange juice, just 84 cents, and 16-ounce Sunshine Crispy crackers, half price at only 64 cents. You'll find hundreds of other specials, too, like 6 packs of Pepsi, just $1.69, now at Safeway, where you get an honest deal every day.
While we can't guarantee that MJB mochas will cause the reactions depicted here, we do think you'll find their unique flavors more interesting than the other brand of flavored coffees. MJB mochas, great coffee, a ton of chocolate, and flavors that could drive you nuts. That's so.
Oh, yes, I am the muffin man, the muffin man. Now I am the butter man, the butter man, the butter man.
It's not butter, it's Imperial margarine. Rich, buttery, delicious Imperial. Only our taste deserves the crown.
We are here the second day live inside San Quentin, and this morning we're going to talk to some of the people that make this institution run and run well, the correctional officers. But I'm going to ask this gentleman right here. All of us on the outside would say when we saw you in uniform, we'd call you a guard. Why are you offended by the name guard?
Well, it's more professional to be called a correctional officer.
Do you think the word guard has kind of a negative connotation?
Well, yeah, it's a misconception of our duties at San Quentin.
What are some of your duties?
Well, feeding the inmates, making sure that all the court orders are complied with, maintaining a pretty good living condition for them while they're incarcerated.
Okay, all right.
How many people here have friends who say you're crazy to be in such a job? I mean, why would you choose such a career of being a correctional officer at San Quentin?
Law enforcement is in the family, in my family anyway, and I think it's in my blood. I don't know, it was something I thought was a challenge when I first came here, and it has been. That was 6 years ago.
Now, maybe some of your surprise at home is a woman is a guard, or correctional officer, excuse me, at San Quentin. How long have you worked here?
Over 6 years.
Are there advantages to being a woman and being a correctional officer? Are there disadvantages?
I think there are advantages in the way that I think a woman has a calming effect on the inmates. Whereas a woman can get through to a male inmate, I think, a little bit quicker than a man can in some cases.
But don't they try sometime? I mean, don't the inmates try to con you? And especially if you're a woman, don't they try to tease you and harass you a little bit?
Oh, yes, they do. But you have to maintain your professionalism.
How do you do that?
Just by being yourself and treating the inmates fairly.
I noticed that on your name tag here, and I don't know if you can get a shot of it, it's just M.F. Martin. Is there a reason why your first name isn't on your name tag?
Yes, we like to maintain confidentiality.
So you don't like the inmates saying, "Hi, Mary Ann, how are you?" Is that true?
Yes, that's true. I like to be addressed as Officer Martin.
But Officer Martin, let's be honest, do they have nicknames for you sometimes? If they don't know your first name, do they give you a nickname?
Sure they do.
Can you tell
us your nickname? And we will not get into some of the nicknames this morning. Do the inmates, when you first come and you're first in a job like this, use intimidation?
Absolutely.
Give us an example of what they might do.
Well, intimidation can go anywhere from being catcalling on the yard when there's a lot of inmates on the yard, to name calling. They basically want to know where you stand, whether you're able to stand on your own 2 feet and do your job. And especially, not only as a woman, even though it may be a little bit tougher, but also the men as much. And you learn, or you get your respect from the inmates once you've basically are able to stand on your own 2 feet and they know where you're coming from and are able to do your job.
Now, sitting next to Officer West is Officer West.
Sergeant West.
Well, Sergeant West. The point I was trying to make is
Was
we
that
have
you are married.
husband and wife here. How did you feel? Were you here first, or was your wife here first? She was here first. So you had no qualms at all about your wife in this type of career.
No, none whatsoever. It's, before we got married, we worked together on in different units and everything else, and I knew that she was professional and that she could do the job, and that she had her head together and was able to handle it. And sometimes if she's working especially certain units, I get a little worried.
What unit would you worry about?
The AC,
which is
the adjustment center, which is the more or less our jail within the jail type situation, and that's where the hardest of the worst are.
I have a question for them.
Yes.
Who makes more money?
Who makes more money?
Mm-hmm.
Sergeants do.
Sergeants make more. Do you mind to give us what is the starting salary of a correctional officer? Do you know?
When I started, it was $15, $18. Now it's gone up since then, and I'm not sure. To be very honest with you, I'm not sure what it is.
Let me ask the warden. What's the starting salary?
I think it's a little over $2,000.
$2,000 a month is the starting salary for a correctional officer.
Which is
so
not bad.
$25,000 for a starting salary. Yeah.
Which is comparable, I would think, to a police officer's salary on the outside. Am I right? No? No?
The officer salaries in the police departments on the outside are substantially higher. The Highway Patrol, for example, is approximately 15% higher than the Department of Corrections pays its employees.
So why did you go into this line of work?
I went into this line of work. I came from a city police department and such, where there really wasn't an opportunity for promotion and such within a small organization, nor the ability to transfer around the state. There's a lot of advantages to being employed in the Department of Corrections for people who want to take the effort to progress.
We got to go away for a couple of messages. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
California's death row, the gas chamber.
It's like walking into a kind of a nightmare.
The inmates who wait, the few who are set free.
I consider myself fortunate to be alive.
The witnesses at executions, a rare chance to see what few ever see. Final sentence, an Eyewitness News special report. Tonight at 6, only on Channel 5.
The Japanese love tradition, so today the family's off for an afternoon of fun. And like in America, no game is complete without, yes, you've guessed it, the delicious ballpark snack, Nissin's Cup of Noodles. It's an original recipe of noodles, oriental spices, meat and vegetables that just can't miss. Add boiling water and hot dog, you'll have a snack that's fast becoming an American tradition, like baseball. Use your noodle and try Cup of Noodles from Nissin.
So for a long time, I thought, it must be me. Was I being unreasonable to think that I could get what I wanted? Then it struck me. They weren't listening. Not the way you do. You and Revlon's great feeling perm.
With cut, shampoo, and styling, regularly $97.50, now $45.
The salon that listens beautifully.
Call the nearest Neiman Marcus Beauty Salon for your $45 great feeling perm appointment.
What was it we used to like so much about chili?
Fellas, the beef is back. The beef!
It's back.
Allie's introduces a new chili that brings back an old flavor. Allie's real chili, real beef, no soy fillers.
What do we do with this chili with the soy filler in the beef?
Always was partial to beef in my beef. Doreen, I just found something I thought was lost forever.
New from Allie's, real chili. The beef is back.
Join us in our studio audience. For your free tickets, call 478-KPIX. That's 478-KPIX. Ann and I are inside San Quentin this morning. We're visiting with correctional officers, and what the building we're in is the gymnasium here at San Quentin. I'm curious, when you're an officer and you're on the actual grounds of San Quentin, do you carry weapons at all?
Really, our only weapon is our whistle, our pen, and common sense.
So,
Only weapon, really.
so if there is a problem, you need help, what do you do?
Blow my whistle?
And you don't have a two-way radio or anything like that on you?
No, not in my status as a correctional officer. Whereas other correctional officers may carry a radio depending on where they're at and what line of work they're in.
You say a pen. How do you consider a pen a weapon?
Riding up what we would call a beef, like a...
It's just like if I'm driving along and the cop pulls me over and gives me a ticket, you give inmates tickets?
Not tickets per se, but we would write a report, a disciplinary.
And what
Right.
would happen to them after you wrote the report? What kind of punishment would then be administered?
That depends. That depends on the serious.
Give us an example of why you might write a violation up.
It could go anywhere from an inmate not wanting to go to school, not wanting to go to his job, to all the way up to a stabbing incident, an assault. Anything in the middle. You can get loss of time, actual time, up to, depending on the beef, all the way up to like a year.
So when you say loss of time, you're going to put more time in while you're here at San Quentin.
I want to know if you then deal with fear. Here you're saying that you don't carry weapons, that the only thing you've got is a whistle and a pencil. How do you deal with the fear?
Well, I don't consider it fear.
You're not ever afraid?
Yes, in a sense. Apprehensive. It would be like when you confront a dog that's barking. You may not have the fear, but you're kind of apprehensive if the dog's there barking. It's not a fear kind of.
What about you? Now, I have to... Will you stand up for me, please? Now, I want you to look at this. First of all, this is a correctional officer, a lieutenant. Well, I'm so careful not to say guard, you see, so I've been saying lieutenant. I mean, you're a little itty-bitty thing. Don't you have to be big to be a correctional officer?
No, I'm not.
No, I know. Are you ever frightened?
There are instances when you have to be frightened because it saves your life to be frightened. The adrenaline does.
What about your first day? What about the first day when you came in here? And is this the first job you've had as a correctional officer?
No, I've been in the department almost 14 years.
What about your first day, though, in a prison?
Anybody's first day on a job is fearful. In a prison or in an office. So, yeah, I was afraid the first day.
Were you? Because you're so little. I can't imagine you being... Now, do they tease you a lot?
You were talking about nicknames?
Now, I hear the rest of your fellow officers laughing. Yeah, what's your nickname?
Sergeant Munchkin.
Appropriate.
Did you
Very
have something you wanted to
appropriate,
say here?
Yes. I want to say that the first, real good impression of how it looks the first day. I told you earlier, the first day I saw both of you come in to San Quentin to take a look around.
Which was about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago. I was on the communication system when you came in. Your face, Ann, was the epitome of what it was like the first day you walked into the institution.
Cold,
and I have to tell you that.
fear.
Thank you. I mean, I couldn't have done it if I told everyone, I said, if I had a camera and somebody were to ask me that, I would have taken a picture of you.
You're absolutely right.
Well, unlike anything else you would do in life and just walking through a door, I mean, there are so many passes you have to show and so many gates you have to go through and so many checks you have to come under.
Do you ever get used to the apprehension? Let's not call it fear. Do you ever get used to it so that it's just everyday part of your life? You come to work here and it doesn't mean anything? Or do you deal with fear on a regular basis?
I wouldn't say fear on a regular basis. You do come accustomed to it. And it all depends on where you're at, too. You know, if you're working on the line with the GP, general population, or if you're working in, you know, the adjustment center, you know.
Why is the adjustment center the worst place to work?
It's where we house most of our most violent inmates that can't be with the public. Or
What's it like in there, in the adjustment center?
Well, to each officer, it's all different. I mean, you got new staff and you got regular staff that have been in there for a long time that are used to it, you know, so it's...
Are they all in lockdown in the adjustment center?
Their movement is very, all their movements are monitored very much. Yeah, so.
So there's lots of apprehension if you work the adjustment center, but if you're working the general population, if they're out in the yard lifting weights and things like that, it's not so bad, huh?
When you first...
The yard is just as dangerous as a SHU unit. They have more access to an officer, say, in the general population. So that element of danger is still around you. You just become aware of it, and your sixth sense sort of picks it up.
When you drive into San Quentin, you see a lot of houses around the area. Do any of you live actually on prison grounds? You do live on prison grounds? But you are not a correctional officer.
No, I'm not.
But you do live on the prison grounds.
Yes, I do. I work in the accounting office.
Now, if you work in the accounting office, and, you know, I was going to say, here you are, real pretty and femininely dressed, and do you ever have any consideration about what you wear since you're in a prison with all male inmates?
No. You just dress normal.
Just dress normal, because I wore dark slacks and everything. I thought I'd be real subdued today.
We earlier were talking to the warden, and he said when he came here, this place was in lockdown, and there was a lot of gangs, and there was, well, I got a lot of racial tension. Do you find when it comes to socially and all that the inmates stay racially together, the blacks with the blacks, the Hispanics with the Hispanics, Caucasians with the Caucasians? Is that pretty much how it works inside?
Yes, that's primarily the game plan, because they find that survival is the key. So with their own masses, they feel that they're better off in numbers by staying in their own group sometimes.
You say survival is the key.
Survival is the key, and here's a world within itself. And survival is the key in any means possible.
You say a war within itself?
War within itself, because...
You know, I got to tell you, in the Independent Journal this last weekend, they had an article about the war zone within the state prisons. Maybe a lot of you read it. And they said the only people that don't have weapons on the grounds of the prison are the correctional officers.
Absolutely. And we are in a very precarious predicament, because we are defenseless in a key, and sometimes we are outnumbered. So, but we do the best we can.
Where
and the pen and the
do
whistle
they
is
get
mighty.
the weapons, is what I want to know.
They are manufactured by various things, anywhere from melted down spoons to metal stock sawed off of bunks. They're very ingenious and can make just about anything.
Are they ever frisked or
Can you just search an inmate if you want to search an inmate?
If it's warranted or if it's necessary, an inmate can be pat-searched, or an unclothed body search can be performed at any given time.
But if you have no reason or can't prove there might be a problem, you can't just search an inmate, can you?
That's not true. He forfeits that right when he's incarcerated in prison, and for the safety and security of the institution, an inmate can be subjected to search at any time.
Okay, we got to go away again for another commercial break.
I know,
We'll be
but
back.
when we come back, maybe we can talk about how this affects their personal life.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
In a moment. Stay tuned.
People with AIDS, in search of treatment. Time is short, and approved drugs aren't enough. People with AIDS are going underground, fighting to survive. Experimental drugs, guerrilla clinics. A world where hope is bought and sold. Underground Drugs, an AIDS Lifeline special report. Tonight at 11, only on Channel 5.
Sometimes it isn't so easy to do what's good for you, like get enough exercise.
4, 3,
Or lose a few pounds. But here's something easy and good for you. Switch to Safola, the margarine that has more beneficial polyunsaturates than even the leading corn oil margarines. And Safola has absolutely no cholesterol.
And Safola tastes better.
Safola, the better tasting margarine that's better for you.
Renting a carpet cleaner is always an experience. You get to travel, meet people, and even exercise. But why rent when you can own the new Bissell Power Steamer? It deep cleans carpets, spills, stains, high traffic areas, even upholstery. With the new Bissell Power Steamer, carpet cleaning will never be the same.
Need some help with that?
$179 now at Emporium Capwell.
At 1,200 pounds, the fattest man alive was a prisoner in his own home. Just a simple walk from his bathroom to his bedroom proved dangerous when he became stuck in the doorway.
From that day, I knew I had to do something. I had to change my life.
Wednesday on Evening Magazine, how the fattest man alive lost 400 pounds and gained a new sense of freedom on Evening Magazine. Wednesday at 7:30 on Channel 5.
Some of the correctional officers here at San Quentin this morning, and I asked in the break if the inmates ever try to get a closer relationship with the guards. Do you ever, like, find yourself in the position of being a counselor?
Yeah, sometimes you do, because a lot of times you're dealing with them on a one-to-one basis up on the tiers or basically anywhere on the grounds.
Did you ever have to deal with a prisoner on death row?
Well, being there because I've worked in the visiting room, and a lot of the condemned men come down. You come on a one-to-one basis with them, with their families, their relatives. So they come and they talk to you, or they, or they ask.
Do you try to help them out? Do you try to give them advice? Do you try to comfort them if they need it?
No, I wouldn't say, I mean, when we're just talking about just everyday things.
Just chewing the fat with them just to make them relax.
Yeah, I mean.
Do you ever have just casual conversations with the inmates, or are the relationships pretty sterile?
Well, that's one of the things that I enjoy about working at San Quentin is we get a chance to see on an everyday basis the headline cases that, are followed.
You mean who, for example?
Don't necessarily want to.
Charles Manson?
Of course, Charles Manson, and others that, have this fame, and people have followed their cases throughout the media. And to have the opportunity to talk to them on a day-to-day basis and really get to see the inner person of who they are, that's very interesting.
Yeah, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, basically, too, another thing you have to realize is that a lot of these guys don't have visits. So the only contact that they have are with officers. And females, they tend to, want to,
They see you as a mother or a sister or a girlfriend?
I mean, not brother, but, they see us in that way. And they like to just talk to us a lot, and they will, and we do a lot of talking with them. Yeah. So, and we do, some of them do get into a personal thing, but I think that's, too, being professional, we know how to handle different things. When some guy is playing a game and when they're serious.
Do they try to con you often?
Yes, every day.
Every day? Yes, sir.
There's also the correctional counseling staff. There's also the chaplain staff. There are teachers and other people that inmates have contact with. Pretty much what happens is that after a period of time, there is that relationship that develops. And again, while being professional, we still have to maintain that opening ear.
So in other words, if I'm an inmate with a problem, I can find somebody in this prison to talk to?
Certainly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to echo what was said, we're hired for our communication skills in most part. We do a lot of monitoring, but...
Well, you say monitoring. What does that mean? Do you read the mail? Do you listen to phone calls?
Yes, the phone calls are monitored out. Mail is screened nightly.
Why are the phone calls monitored and the mail screened? Why?
Security, control contraband,
CMF,
So, in other words, go ahead, sir.
CMF had a good example of one of the reasons the phone calls are... CMF is a California medical facility. A while back, an inmate was calling people on the streets. They were accepting the calls, and he was getting them to do perverted acts or pressuring them into doing other things.
So you will monitor a call out. Will you monitor mail that is going out? If I were to send a letter in, do you open mail on the way in?
That's correct, yeah.
The mail is, all of the mail is checked coming in. In letter mail, you're only allowed certain items to come in through the letter mail. Other items, you could come
like what?
Stationery, stamps, money orders, checks, photographs within a certain size are allowed.
Can you send in that proverbial cake?
No. The proverbial cake wouldn't come in through the mail.
The one that hides the file or the saw.
And
We
any
learned that
package,
from
I assume,
Hollywood.
that comes in is searched. You'll look at it. Yes, sir.
You know, people that are inside the walls are very sophisticated. There were situations where people were concealing narcotics under stamps. So there are a whole lot of things that we have to be very careful with in terms of
How do drugs get into the prison? I mean, we know, and I don't think it's from Hollywood, I think it's from the news, we know that drugs do get into a prison. How do they get in there? Yes?
Mainly through the visiting room, we suspect, but we're not certain. These people are ingenious. They do all types of things. They think of one problem 24 hours a day. They come up with the solution.
Can you tell us one, like, creative way that somebody smuggled something in? And we're on television, remember.
Women bringing in their bra to the people. I worked in visiting for 3 years. There's all kind of ways.
Yeah. You say they're more sophisticated ways.
They're, for instance, on their stamps, the sealed part of the envelope is brought in. The portion of the envelope that is sealed may have contraband within that. In our area particularly, we have to focus in on censoring the mail, phone calls, and it's just so many different ways that contraband can be introduced to the system.
When we come back, I'm going to have both of you stand up, and I want to know what the difference. I mean, you look like you're part of a SWAT team. You're in a regular, like, uniform, and why you're dressed differently. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Crack open a meal. No matter how you fix them, California fresh eggs are quick, easy, and the best value for your food dollar.
Fry 'em, try 'em any way you want 'em. Have some eggs now, that's all right.
Should your name be on this envelope? It should if you or someone you love is age 50 to 80, and it will be addressed to you if you call now for this important information. Free information about a life insurance policy designed especially for men and women age 50 to 80. Life insurance with no physical examination and no medical questions. You cannot be turned down regardless of your health or for any reason. And your premium will be $6.95 a month and will never increase. Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company wants to send you the important information in this envelope, and it's free. So if you are age 50 to 80 and thought it would be difficult to buy life insurance, shouldn't you call now? Here's the number.
For free information in the mail, call 800-338-7200. This is a free call. 800-338-7200.
Vicki Engel before Nutrisystem, Vicki Engel after Nutrisystem.
I had spaghetti and meatballs, lasagna, fudge cupcakes, and I still lost weight. I wanted to see results real quick, and I did with Nutrisystem. I'm so much happier now that I've lost the 125 pounds. I walk on a cloud all the time now. I would tell someone that needed to lose weight and were hesitating on it, that they owed it to themselves to get that weight off and start enjoying the rest of their life.
Lose up to 20 pounds for only $49, guaranteed. Call now.
Them stand up. We're inside San Quentin, and I have two of the correctional officers with me. You can see how differently they're dressed. What's the reason that you look like you're, as I said earlier, on a SWAT team, and you're in kind of normal uniform?
Well, it's not considered a SWAT team. I'm a member of the Special Security Squad, and the security squad consists of 8 members and a sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. And we provide investigative services for the institution, which would consist of anywhere from crime scene preservation to evidence processing.
So in other words, if there's a crime on the premises, you investigate it.
Right. And it's like treated like a homicide on the street.
What do the inmates call you?
I have a list of about this.
And this is only an hour show.
Do you have to say, I mean, you look like you are in fantastic shape. Is that part of the deal? You've got to stay in great shape for your job?
Not necessarily, but every member has a special characteristic which contributes to the squad, and it helps to
Do you
be in good
work
shape.
out?
Yeah.
Is this a life and death situation as far as you're concerned, being a correctional officer on a daily basis?
I believe it is. I believe it is. There's so many threats that are issued against us, and sometimes it is actually carried out within the streets.
Really? Because we're over there, we were talking about fear, and you say it's not fear, it's correctional awareness or something. To me, it seems like fear.
People misinterpret the fear. It's not so much fear, it's more being cautious and aware of your surroundings around you as opposed to being scared.
You don't really have time to be afraid, just a waste of time. You analyze the situation and handle it accordingly.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about sex in the prison, okay? I'm going to talk to a female correctional officer. Do they come on to the prisoners? I mean, there you are in the cell blocks, I assume, sometimes. Do they ever expose themselves?
Yes, they do. Quite often and regularly to begin with.
Is that a game with them?
It can be construed as a game, but it gets pretty serious after a while if that's all you see. And you'd have to learn to deal with it. Usually it's a female officer, new on the job, and they're testing you to see what you're going to do about it.
And what do you do about it?
At first you're shocked, and then you think about it and decide whether or not you're willing to put up with it. If you're not willing to put up with it, you write them up. And that it's documented that they're doing this, and that tends to discourage.
Is there a lot of homosexual activities within the prison inmates?
Yes.
How does the prison deal with that?
We don't encourage it. We try to get in the way of it, but...
Are they written up if they are caught?
Very definitely.
It's difficult, so people at home know, for us on this side of the gymnasium to hear what Ann is saying over there, but we were talking about the homosexual activity that goes on within the prison and how you control that. Are there times, I mean, realistically, do you have to turn your head the other way many times?
Yes, sir.
Because you can't, yes.
No, I don't believe it's the fact of turning your head away. Example I had, my experience was with an inmate who on a 3-week basis, he was changing his appearance.
How do you mean?
Well, his facial hairs were being plucked. He was letting his hair grow, and he was doing something to it on the evenings, whereas the next day it would come and had body to it, and he started tanning his face, and my first thing is whether he was being pressured to give up sexual activities, or he was trying to escape by means of, you know, changing his appearance and what have you, and get into the mix of things and walk out. And sooner or later, the same inmate did have an escape attempt. So, you know, you really have to be conscientious and observant. And
so if there's any change in behavior in the way they run a regular daily life, you notice it. That's your job to notice.
You notice, you have to notice it. It also makes your purpose for being here. You know, it's not like we're just here to collect a check. It's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back inside San Quentin in just a moment.
Lunch?
I grabbed a pizza.
Lunch?
I grabbed a burger.
The American Dietetic Association says vegetables are an important part of a balanced diet.
Lunch?
I grabbed a hot dog.
No vegetables? Have a V8.
When you can't get to eat vegetables, you can drink them. One delicious glass of V8 juice provides a serving of vegetables.
Thanks for putting me straight, Laura.
Drink V8. Keep your diet straight.
Put yourself in our place. Put a smile on your face. You know that you have got taste. Come alive at Suburban House. Come alive. Drexel Heritage. Come alive at Suburban House. We're really thinking of you.
It's the final days of our 26th annual winter sale at Suburban House. Hurry, take advantage of tremendous savings store-wide.
Come alive.
Come Packard and Cupertino.
I was sure he wasn't being honest. I know what he's capable of, and frankly, I was surprised. I mean, wouldn't you be if for no reason at all your husband bakes you a pie?
Mrs. Smith's Pie in Minutes.
A Wednesday night, and out of nowhere comes this pie.
Actually, it came out of the microwave.
A great pie. My birthday I could buy, but a Wednesday? Well, I am grateful.
Good.
But why is he being so nice?
10 minutes microwave, 20 oven. Mrs. Smith's Pie in Minutes. Surprise someone tonight.
There's one dog food people lean on more than any other, Purina Dog Chow.
You can lean on me, I'll be there for you.
An unspoken trust that is tried and true.
I lean on you, you lean on me.
More people depend on Purina Dog Chow for unsurpassed nutrition than any other dog food in the world, and dogs love the way it tastes. Purina Dog Chow brand, a dog food you can lean on.
For information about today's guests, call the People Are Talking hotline at 478-8888.
Here at San Quentin this morning, we've talked to the correctional officers about their lives, about drugs, about sex within the prison. What's the one area that we haven't covered?
We haven't covered the AIDS program within the prison systems.
What is that?
Really, the program is that once a person is identified as being an AIDS carrier, there's certain procedures administratively that are set up for removing them from the system. But the problem with the AIDS in the prison is the same as the problem with the AIDS in the community, that it's only the tip of the iceberg that is ever seen.
Are all prisoners tested?
No, all prisoners are not tested. I am pleased to hear that Governor Deukmejian has recently authorized a limited testing program for inmates within the prison systems.
We were just mentioning over on this side, a limited testing program for AIDS the governor has just approved. Does that meet your approval as correctional officers? Are you pleased that maybe a little more mandatory testing will take place regarding AIDS?
Feel more comfortable about that?
Yeah. Do you feel more comfortable with that? We, Dave Langerman standing next to me. He's head of public information here. You have a story about an AIDS case.
Well, we don't know that it was an AIDS case. I guess the point that I'm making is here we're trained to react. We're trained to react in emergency situations, and I myself have reacted in an emergency situation before the threat of AIDS was so widespread. I gave mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to an inmate who had tried to hang himself. In retrospect, I said, gee, what have I just done? I know of another correctional officer working here. An inmate had slashed his throat. He literally reached into the wound and held the jugular vein together between his fingers and ran carrying this man to the hospital. He saved his life, holding literally his life in his hand.
But you're saying today that may not be the case because of the AIDS situation.
Today we'd have to probably think long and hard about that because it is a real viable threat.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave.
We were talking before the break earlier about as far as how it's changed our lifestyle and everything. A lot of us all come from different walks of life, you know, from different jobs and come into this type of environment. And you're talking about how's it changed us out on the street. Some of us, you know, it hasn't changed, but some of us have become more paranoid, more trusting, or less.
I was going to say, when you go out on a date, no, you're married. You don't go out on dates. We don't want to say that. But I mean, do you get paranoid?
Sometimes.
Out on the street, you know, if you come out of a restaurant and somebody moves fast?
I wouldn't say, I mean, like you're always, you know, looking over your shoulder, but like for me, I'll go to a restaurant, and I've never done this before, you know, prior to working here, where I want to know where the exits are. My back is always towards to where I can see everybody. Because of all the things that have happened, you know, I mean, a lot of people are real naive and always say, this will never happen to me.
So you take your correctional awareness outside this prison, very definitely.
I'm sure there are people out in the community who have a certain preconceived notion of what a correctional officer is like. Maybe you're all a bunch of tough guys and you like to bash a few heads and take control and you like to have power, and that's why you're in this kind of job. Is that the perception you want them to have, or After this program today, what would you like him to be thinking?
People that are in this profession are here because they've chosen to be here. We're real people. We're human. We have feelings. We have hopes, dreams, aspirations. We want to make a good life for our family. We're not people made out of steel that do not have concern and compassion.
You care about these guys?
We care about the people that we service.
But this is still a dangerous place to work, is it not?
It's a very violent place, and you have to be in shape. You got to be aware when you come here. When they talk about fear, and you come in this place, you see it all the time. These guys stab each other, and we're here to stop that. We're trying to keep them from killing each other. I work in the AC where the worst of the worst are housed, and if you come in here and you're not thinking about your job, or you're weak, or you're scared, you're not going to make it. These guys are going to try and get at you, and you just got to be aware.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to add that our lives are on the line every single day, and that's some of the misconceptions that society has on the outside. One of the bonds, the strong bonds that we establish, and the camaraderie that we get together here as correctional staff is essential to our well-being, and a lot of people on the outside aren't aware of that.
How would we be? I mean, we are not in here on a daily basis.
Well, the media and what have you sometimes kind of distorts things, but as we sit here today, it's our...
How do we distort?
Well, because you really don't have the truth, the inside track, and today it's most essential that we put that word out so you can get the inside track what's all about.
Hopefully we're doing that this morning.
Yes. Yes,
Making people more aware.
I think there's a misconception, and one thing that the people feel that San Quentin, all the inmates come here and they're locked in their cells for 23 hours a day, and they only get out for exercise, and they get out and they stab, and this is not true. We have over 1,800 inmates assigned to various jobs. This ranges from food service, industries, vocations, education. We have 2 work crews that go out into the community and perform community work on the grounds, roads,
So there are people here that have a lot of mobility. They're not all just locked in. So also, an interesting fact that I think Dave Langerman told me was that the substance to clean out the Caldecott Tunnel after that awful car crash, remember when everything burned? That substance, that cleaning substance, was created right here at San Quentin. So there are a lot of creative things going on here as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to say, I know everybody in this room, and they're not people out of a 1930s prison movie, you know. We're doing a very difficult job, and we're trying to do it in a very professional manner.
Do you think the inmates have respect for you?
Do the inmates have respect for you, do you think?
You make your own respect in the prison. If you show the inmates respect, then you get that in return. It's how you approach them, and you look at how they approach you, and that's how you react to it. And that's a day in and day out, you know, routine.
So you've got to get their respect. Yes.
That too. A female doesn't have to be a big woman, masculine, to be a correctional officer. She
And
can
we'll
be
be
a
back
female.
in just a moment.
All right.
Drunk driving is not just a traffic violation. It's a serious offense. If you've been arrested, you need to talk to a lawyer. You could lose your driver's license. You could go to jail. Jacoby and Myers can help. You probably have questions about probation, fines, insurance, the use of your car for work. Maybe you don't agree with the test results, or you need help finding a treatment program. Maybe you think you're innocent and want a trial. Jacoby and Myers can help. When it's time to call a criminal defense lawyer, call Jacoby and Myers.
If you just moved to the West, you might think MJB is a new coffee. But out here, MJB's been the standard of premium coffee flavor since 1881. In fact, my grandpa told me that a lot of cowboys used to work only for ranches that served MJB. So if they don't have a good coffee at your new job, you ought to quit. Just kidding. But it really is a great cup of coffee.
MJB, premium coffee, cup to cup, century to century.
Welcome to the West. Here's your coffee.
Happy birthday! You know what your problem is?
Age.
No, you should be eating better.
When did you get so health conscious, huh?
I have birthdays, too.
I suppose that waffle you're about to eat is nutritious.
Not just nutritious, hon. Delicious. It's an Eggo Nutrigrain waffle.
No cholesterol, preservatives, or sugar added. Eggo Nutrigrain waffles from Kellogg's, also in Raisin and Bran.
Nutrigrain, huh?
Hey, let go my Eggo.
No, you're right. I've got to start eating better.
Still there. I don't know what chicken. Hey, Cookie, more pecani sauce. Yeah. This ain't paste pecani sauce. What's the difference? Cookie, paste pecani sauce is made in San Antonio with fresh vegetables and spices by people who know what pecani sauce is supposed to taste like.
This stuff's made in New York City?
New York City?
Get a rope.
Pick up the original pecani sauce. Pick up the pace.
Well, we're inside San Quentin. We're going to go back to San Francisco now at Channel 5, get an idea of what some of the new news will be like.
I'm David Jackson in the Eyewitness Newsroom. Some of the stories for today's new news. A dramatic rescue on the high seas after a fishing boat catches fire under the Golden Gate Bridge. Also today, the IRS may not be the place to call with questions about your tax forms. Plus today, Hollywood celebrities who are playing a big role in Campaign 88. You'll see some of the celebrities who are choosing to back some of the candidates. And the British Olympian who finished last in the ski jump competition but came in first in the hearts of the spectators in Calgary. We'll have that and much more coming up at noon. Now we go back to Ann and Ross.
Thank you very much. Well, coming up tomorrow on People Are Talking, as Ross said, we will be back at Channel 5. We're going to meet 3 women who say they were charmed out of millions of dollars by the puppy-eyed con man. Smart women, unbelievably bad choices. Tomorrow on People Are Talking.
We want to thank Warden Vasquez and all you folks for coming down and visiting with us this morning, being part of People Are Talking and giving us all a greater understanding of really what does go on behind the walls of this probably the most celebrated state prison in the state of California. Thank you to all of you. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10. Goodbye.
Goodbye.